Hi everyone. This is how I went this week. A bit mediocre. Okay considering I did have a donut. Still went up in the rankings, 700 spots. So I keep my spot in the top 15,000. Just scored over 2,400. I actually won 4 out of my 5 leagues, which is surprising considering I had a donut. Well, I'm guessing a lot of other people would have been in that situation as well. So I'll just have a look. So there we go, Friday 7. So we start off with Cecil didn't play, got injured, which is a bit of a surprise. It's a bit unfortunate. It was a bit of a concern at the round. So hopefully he plays next week. If not, then I'm screwed. I had no emergencies as well, and I regret not getting Humphrey, from Geelong when I had that chance, and I probably should have taken it because that would have been nearly 100 point this week, and that would put me even probably the top 10, 12,000. But it's not to be. Wasn't expecting Sheasel would get injured, plays for nearly every game this season, but then gets injured. And then Whitfield 106 did okay. Just a standard score from him. And then Nick Martin 135, so he's had another good game, despite we lose. So he's definitely one of our key players, that's for sure. Definitely in our top 5 players. Definitely in our top 5 players. Not only for just Supercoach, but just in general. The only problem is he can turn the ball over, which sometimes can affect his Supercoach scoring. But he's definitely been one of our better picks, that's for sure, in recent memory. Considering we got him for a bargain. So then you got Archie Perkins, who's just disappointing, but that's a whole nother video. Luke Ryan 68, so one of his lowest scores of the season, which is a bit of a surprise considering they're playing GWS. The ball was Frio's defensive half for a decent period of the match. So I'm surprised Ryan didn't get as much of the ball like he usually does. So that was a bit of a surprise this week. It's not a huge deal because a lot of other people have him, so it's not a huge problem. But you would have liked a little bit more. And then Dacos 116, and that's all really thanks to his second quarter, which sort of saved Collingwood. They probably really shouldn't have won that match, but that second quarter he got going, and it really didn't do too much in the other 3 quarters, but that second quarter really helped him. And Dan Houston, which is probably the biggest talking point in this side, or just in general, in regards to Supercoach, because he's going to get suspended due to that bump. And that's probably going to be another donut next week. It all depends if Sheasel gets back as well. But it's definitely a donut unless Warner or Showmaker plays. I can't really see it. St Kilda, played all right on the weekend. They came back and won, so I can't see Showmaker getting a game unless someone, a couple injuries happen during training, which is unlikely going to happen. And then Warner, he's probably more likely to get a game since he did play not too long ago and was listed as an emergency option, so he has a potential to play. It's going to be, not too sure. I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. So just wait and see. But once again, I wish I had Humphreys in this situation. It just would have saved a headache going forward. But you can't predict these things. It's Houston getting suspended. You can't predict that, and the same with Sheasel getting injured, because he's actually been pretty good in that area, or not getting injured. So it is what it is. There's nothing I can really do about it. It's just bad luck, and a lot of other people in the same situation. It's not like it's a pod where all of a sudden I'm at a huge disadvantage compared to the competition. All the top players have Houston, or pretty much most of them. So it impacts them as well. And then you've got Bontempelli as captain, 123. Not too bad. I was hoping for a bit more since it was against North Melbourne. They did get the 100-point win, Bulldogs. I guess having Sheasel out is caused a bit of a huge problem for North Melbourne. It's a huge out. So look, 123 is okay. It's not a disaster, but I was hoping he'd get a couple goals and get to 150. That's not my biggest concern this week. Butters, 156. Look, if you took the captain score on Butters, you'd be laughing. Yeah, it was definitely the best play on the ground. Yeah, 156. And he's actually my second highest averaging midfielder. Who would have thought? And then Tom Green, 143. So he's all of a sudden bouncing back now after a mid-season slump, just like the Giants. They're coming back strong. And yeah, I'm happy with that. 143. Great I didn't trade him out because I was looking to do that. But there were a few other players who were actually underperforming more than what he was. I think because of after getting that subbed out with a score of 5, it did take him a bit of a month or two just to get back into the swing of things. So hopefully he does well next week. He might be a decent pick next year. We'll soon see how it goes with pre-season and the other selections that we have. Merritt, just a 74, one of his worst performances of the season. And yeah, look, over Western were disappointing on the night. We just seem to can't, against the top sides, we just can't really seem to win. If we want to make top 4 or at least compete, in finals when we ever do make it, you got to be, competing against the top sides for a longer period, not a half. And Merritt was just shut down out of the game. So yeah, disappointing for Merritt. A lot of everyone has him though. It's not a huge deal. He had a good game the other week. And then Sarong, 105. Yeah, just the standard score. Nothing crash hot. Nothing terrible. And then Sam Walsh, 98. I guess a little disappointing considering, Carlton won by 10 goals. You expect him to get at least 120, or at least over 100. And it wasn't to be. So again, Sam Walsh is probably actually one of my more disappointing players over the month, which sort of makes sense. Other than this week, Carlton have been pretty disappointing over the last month or so, or even really 2 months. And then Jordan Dawson, 143. I think that might be his second highest score of the season, or third highest. And yeah, kept Adelaide in the game. Yeah, real standout for Adelaide. Look, bit of a pod, so it was a gain advantage of having him. So I'm happy with that. But what I'm not so happy with is Rao getting 71. So he had a good game last week, sort of helped Gold Coast get over the line, was probably the main reason why they won. Without him, they would have lost that. And they were just terrible. Gold Coast, everyone was pretty ordinary, other than Flanders, which we'll get to in a minute. Yeah, so I mean, look, I picked him as a budget option because I had no one else to really pick at that price point. I didn't really want to bring him in, but there was no one with the same level of potential as well with Matt Rowell at that price. So, I mean, look, the last couple of months have been disaster with injuries. If I didn't have injuries, I'd be, well ahead of where I'm at. And then you've got Downing, didn't play, which is a bit annoying. Don't know if he's going to get back in the squad for next week. And Carroll actually had a half decent game. So if you had him, you wouldn't be too frustrated with him as a emergency option there. Things I don't really need it for the forward line. I'd rather him there, and it doesn't really matter. And then Brown didn't play, and then onto the rucks, which were very disappointing, I'd say. Gone under 100. Yeah, frustrating because you got Marshall and Cherry who did well. I mean, even though Melbourne won by almost 10 goals in the end, he didn't get that extraordinary score. I guess he was playing against, Witts, who's a good ruckman anyway. And I guess that just shows Melbourne, as a team, they played well. They had a lot of other players without having, Petrarca and Oliver really doing the damage. So that's good for Melbourne. And then on to Jackson. So another disappointing week for Jackson. But look, he's sort of a lifesaver having him as a ruck option there. Instead of having, English, having him getting injured, which sort of stuffs up the week as well. Look, I've had Sherry instead of English. When I did trade English in, it would have been a miles ahead option, but I'm not too sure I had enough catch available then, so I can't quite remember exactly. But yeah, it is what it is. Sherry's probably going to be my side next year. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. And then Flanders 120. Yeah, Gold Coast is the most consistent player. Will probably win their best and fairest, so I'd imagine. Yeah, just week in and week out, he just really doesn't disappoint. And then Zorko 108, another player who's consistent. Even though Brisbane lost, he's definitely their best kick in defence this season, considering Coleman, because Keeman and Coleman getting injured sort of helped him his scoring, to be honest. I don't know if he's going to play next year. I mean, look, seems to get better with age, Zorko. He's the best player at his age in the comp, that's for sure. You're not going to expect any people mid-30s getting average 110 Supercoach points. I don't even know if anyone's done that before. Could be wrong. But yeah, he's done really well, Zorko, this year. He's able to hold up well. I think he might have missed 1 or 2 games, I can't remember, but overall he's done extremely well. He might never come close to win Brisbane's best and fairest. So you got Neil, but you're probably behind Neil. He'll be in the top 5 anyway. Heaney, 117. That's the standard score from Heaney. And then Dylan Moore, 139. A great score from him. And they beat Richmond by 9 goals. So that most damage was done in the second half. Not a huge shock with the score line. But Moore has definitely been a player I wish I had a bit earlier this season, or a few rounds earlier, instead of trading in Curnow or Fisher. I think Kennedy, 99, which ends up being a decent selection. So I got rid of Kennedy for Curnow. I guess that was a good trade for this week. And considering, Carlton got a lot of players, injured. I think Kennedy will get better minutes than playing West Coast. He was more likely to get a decent score than not. And he hit a couple of goals. Did his job. So I'm happy with that. But will he be able to do it next week against a significantly stronger side in St Kilda? Well, a stronger side at Marvel. I'm not too sure. It's a danger game for Carlton. They have to win that. And then Manor, 69. So maybe it's slightly disappointing. Did a decent first half, but sort of faded in the second half like a lot of his teammates. I mean, not terrible, but you probably ideally want a bit more. And then the bench is just cooked, and I'm not too sure if Kruger's going to get a game. So that's pretty much it this week. Not a complete disaster like I thought it was going to be. I guess because a lot of other people in the same situation. You got a lot of popular players like English, Sheasel, Kerner as a pod. Still a few people had him. Fortunately, I was at a disadvantage there. And then you had Houston's going to be out going forward as well. So there's nothing I can really do about that. Hopefully Sheasel gets in, and hopefully English gets back in. Because I've really lost 100 points there, and I've lost, 50-something points over having Sherry not there instead of Jackson. And I guess Jackson would have been all right there instead of having Manor there, and I've probably lost, about 150 compared to someone who's in an ideal position. I'm just comparing against the best out of the best, which unfortunately were far off the mark this year. Had a few good weeks, but not a complete disaster, but it just there's poor trading for a couple of months, or just doing silly trades that I wouldn't normally do, or that aren't really optimal, or weren't really generating cash. I think because I mainly did that because of poor planning for the buyers. I don't really take that seriously. There's a couple of players I should have, just hold on to for a bit longer, and then maybe potentially trade out after the buys. And trading players for the buys instead of having some of these. Like if I traded Miller in during the buys, I would have been better off. Then instead of getting rid of, bringing Sweet, you just hold Grundy for the buys and maybe trade him off to a Sherry perhaps. That would have been better off that way. Just silly things like that. And I wouldn't have had to be forced to get Miller in and having a dodgy row. And a few other little things that just sort of went my way against me. I did make a few good trades in prior to that, but I mean, there's no point now. Really, the season's pretty much almost over, and I have 0 trades. So, look, not a disaster, just a standard average score. Well, I hope you did better than me. Thank you for watching.